$900 in 20s, counted twice on the roof of a car you paid nothing for. Level 1, the driveway flipper. You're 19, the car is free. The listing says it just needs a battery. It has said that for 11 days and nobody has come. Your friend has a van. You pay him $20 in fuel. It is the alternator. A used one from the scrapyard on the interstate costs $35, and the man behind the counter does not look up when he tells you which row. You tear a knuckle on the crank pulley. You keep going with a strip of kitchen towel wrapped round your finger. Sunday afternoon it starts. It idles rough for 30 seconds and then it smooths out. And then you find out the hard part has nothing to do with the engine. You spend an entire Saturday on the inside of a car you do not own yet. A toothbrush along the door seals. The cigarette burn you cannot do anything about. A clean car sells for more than a good car. You will use that fact for the next 20 years. You photograph it at 7 in the evening against a brick wall, because that is when the light is kind to a silver car. You list it at $1,200. The first message says, "Will you take $400?" 9 people message, 2 arrange to come, 1 comes. He brings his brother-in-law who knows about cars. The brother-in-law finds the cigarette burn in about 90 seconds. They offer $850, you get $900. $35 for the alternator, $20 for the fuel, $900 back, 2 weekends of your life. Your mother's driveway has 2 spaces again. That night you open Marketplace and start scrolling. Level 2, the auction rookie. You're 20 and you have found out that the cheap cars are not on Marketplace. They are in a shed on an industrial park at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday. You cannot drive the cars. You cannot start most of them. You get about 90 seconds walking past a row of them with a flashlight on your phone. So you learn to read a car in 90 seconds, uneven gaps between the panels, overspray on a rubber seal, 4 different brands of tire. The first car you bid on goes for $1,100 over what you can afford. To a man who does not put his paddle down, he just lifts 1 finger. You go home with nothing, you go back the next week. The second week you get a 9-year-old Corolla with a dead battery and 140,000 miles for $400, because it is parked at the end of a row and nobody walked that far. Most money is made standing where nobody else is standing. Then the fees, a buyer's premium, an admin fee, a fee for the fact that you paid by card. $400 becomes $510 before you have touched it. A battery is $90. A set of wiper blades is $12. You do the brakes yourself because a pad is $11 and a shop is $200. You list it at $2,200. A nurse finishing her night shift buys it for $2,050 and does not haggle because it is clean and it starts and she is tired. $623 in, $2,050 out, 2 weekends again, but now you know where the shed is. You go back on Tuesday. You bring cash this time so there is no card fee. Level 3, the mark. You're 21 and you have done 9 of these now. You have a routine. So when a 5-year-old Passat comes through the shed at $3,200 and the interior is immaculate and it starts on the button, you do not think about it for very long. It is immaculate because it has been cleaned very carefully by somebody who knew exactly what they were hiding. You find it 11 days later with the rear seat out looking for a rattle, a tide mark. A fine gray silt in the seat rail runners dried hard the color of a river. It was in a flood. The paperwork does not say so because the paperwork does not have to. The electrics start going one at a time over 3 weeks in no order that makes sense. A window, then the trunk release, then the dashboard lights up like a fairground and the engine stays running anyway. You sell it for $1,900 to a man who breaks cars for parts. and you tell him exactly what it is because you have to look at yourself. 3,200 in, 600 chasing wires, 1,900 back, you lose $1,900 in a month. Every trade has one lesson that only money can teach you. Now you pull one seat rail cover on every single car, in the 90 seconds you have before you look at anything else. You do not tell your mother how much you lost. Level 4, the buyer. You're 23, you are still doing your own brakes on a Sunday. You do the math on the last 4 cars. The parts cost you $300. Your own hours cost you nothing on paper. On paper you are doing fine. Then you count the hours, 41 of them across 4 cars, to make $3,100. And in the same month, the one car you bought and sold without touching, a Golf with a scary noise, made you $800 in 4 days. The noise was a heat shield, $12 and a hose clamp. You stop being a mechanic the day your hours cost more than the parts. So you change what you look for. You stop hunting broken cars and you start hunting cars that only look broken. A car with a cracked bumper and a full service history. A car photographed at night badly by a man selling his dead father's estate. A car with a warning light for a sensor that costs $40. You find a guy called Dev in a 2-bay unit who does anything mechanical for $80 an hour, faster than you and better than you. It feels like cheating. It is not cheating, it is the job. The Jetta you buy in March cost you $4,100 with fees. Dev has it for 1 day and charges you $500. It sells in 9 days for $7,800. $3,200, and you touched that car twice, once to drive it home, once to hand over the key. You keep the coveralls hanging in the garage for another 2 years. You just stop putting them on. Level 5, the dealer. You're 25, and one car at a time is now the thing holding you back. You rent 6 spaces on a yard behind a carpet warehouse for $400 a month. It has a portable toilet and a light on a pole. 6 cars at a time, then 9. You are not chasing the big win anymore, you are chasing the average, buy at 4, sell at 6, 12 times a month. The phone becomes the job. It rings at 7 in the morning and at 10:30 at night, and half the people who ring want to argue about a car, not buy one. Your girlfriend asks you in a restaurant to put it in your pocket. You do, and you take it out again 11 minutes later. $9,000 a month some months, 6 in a bad one. And somewhere in it, you notice you have stopped going to look at cars you cannot afford. You do not go to shows anymore. Then, at 28, you get invited into the room the public does not go in. The wholesale lane. Same shed, different door, Wednesday morning. 12 men, no paddles, everything sold on a nod. You are the youngest man in the room by 15 years. On your first morning you buy nothing, and a man in a vest tells you that was the right call. The rules are not written anywhere. You do not bid against a man buying for his own son. You do not walk a car past the man you outbid. You break the second rule once by accident, and it costs you a phone number you needed for 8 months. At the bottom, the money is in the car. Up here it is in the room. The car that changes the year is a 2-year-old E-Class with 110,000 miles that came in against a new one. Nobody in the room wants high mileage. You buy it for $19,000. It has one owner, a full dealer service history in a folder, and the miles are highway miles. You send it to Dev for a service and a set of tires, $2,200. It sells in 6 days for $34,500 to a man who drives 90 miles to see it and does not open the hood. $13,300 on one car in 11 days. You stand on the yard afterwards in the dark and you do not feel anything much. You put the next one on the list. Level 6, the gambler. You're 31 and you buy a car that has been written off, on purpose, knowing exactly what that means. A 4-year-old Porsche on a salvage title. Somebody reversed a van into it and cracked the bumper, the fender and one headlight. Nothing structural, nothing bent in the shell. The headlight alone is $4,100 new. You buy it at $51,000. The clean version of the same car is $130. You pay a man $300 to inspect it on a ramp and write down what he sees. He finds a bent lower arm nobody had mentioned. The gamble is never the car, it is what you do not know about it. The repair is $19,000 and it takes 5 weeks. A used fender from Germany, a headlight from a breaker in Poland. Paint that has to be matched twice because silver never matches once. It comes back and it is perfect, and it will say rebuilt title on its record for the rest of its life. You price it at $104,000, which is $26,000 under the clean cars, and you put rebuilt title in the first line of the ad, in writing before anybody asks. It sells to a man who has done the same math you did. $33,700, and the first genuinely frightening month of your life. You do 4 more that year. One of them, a Range Rover, you get wrong by $11,000, and you keep the invoice in a drawer where you can see it. Level 7, the Consignor. You're 35, and you have stopped buying cars that anybody needs. Nobody needs a car with a 2-foot wing bolted to the trunk. That is the entire point of it. A car that nobody needs cannot go out of fashion for a reason as boring as fuel prices. The one that teaches you the level is a barn-stored 1969 Charger Daytona with 41,000 original miles. One family. The original build sheet still folded under the rear seat, and receipts in a shoebox going back to 1974. You pay $420,000 for it privately to 2 sisters who want it gone before probate gets complicated. Down at the bottom you sold cars, up here you sell the folder. You do not clean it. You are specifically told by a man who knows more than you not to clean it. You put it into a specialist auction. They photograph it for 2 days. They write 1,100 words about it. They take 8% of whatever it makes plus a listing fee for doing that. It makes $605,000 in 110 seconds of bidding. After the fees you keep $134,600, and you never took the dust off it. You buy your mother a car, she asks if it is one of your written-off ones. You tell her no, she checks anyway. Level 8, the broker. You're 39. You get a phone call on a Thursday about a car that is not for sale. There are about 400 people in the world who want this particular car, and roughly 9 of them can have it. Everybody in that group knows everybody else, and none of them advertise anything. A man in Belgium has one and will part with it to the right owner, with no photographs on the internet. A man in Arizona has wanted one for 6 years. You do not own it, you never see it, you never sit in it. What you have is 11 years of phone numbers, and the fact that both of these men have already decided you do not lie to them about money. It takes 5 weeks, 2 inspections, a dispute about a transmission that was rebuilt in 2004, 1 flight in economy because you have never got comfortable with the other kind. $4.2 million moves between 2 men who have never met. Your part is $210,000 of it, for a phone call, an introduction, and 11 years. The dirtier your hands, the smaller the check. It took 20 years to learn that, and it is still not fair. You get the wire confirmation on your phone standing in a parking lot at an airport, and you look at it for about 4 seconds, and then you go and find your car. There is a dull silver Ford Focus in your garage. You spent 2 years looking for it. 3 owners, then a lot that sells cars for parts, the same man you sold the Passat to when you were 21. You bought it back 9 years ago for $400. He remembered you, he did not ask why. 1 flat tire, a dent in the rear door, a cigarette burn in the passenger seat that you could have fixed at any point in the last 9 years with any amount of money and have not. It is the only car you own that you have never tried to sell. So, which level would you have stopped at? The first one that made you $900, or the one that cost you $1,900 and taught you everything? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to know what the next thing is, subscribe because I am already looking.